Yo, what's going on, guys? It's your boy. Welcome back to another video. Today we're going to be ranking every single movie that I saw in the month of May. The month of May was a little busy for me, so I only got around to watching 5 new movies, and I guarantee you the number 5 spot is a movie that probably the majority of you guys haven't seen or probably even heard of. But that being said, I'm insanely excited to talk about it. I think that the month of May had some relatively great movies in it, and let's kind of dive into this. So as per usual, I'm going to go ahead and start off by talking about big notable movies that I missed. One, the live-action Lilo and Stitch movie. I plan on watching it eventually. I just haven't gone around to it. My movie theater is currently under renovation, so I haven't been able to see a decent bit of movies that are in theaters. So that's a big one that I missed. I mostly want to see it because I want to know how they dropped the ball that hard. I've heard nothing but bad reviews for it. And that's even coming from some of my friends who are like diehard Disney truthers. So we'll see whenever I get around to watching that movie. I've also missed the movie Friendship. I think it's out in theaters, but for some reason, I'm not finding it anywhere. And for the most part, I like Tim Robinson, and I'm just so intrigued because the marketing has made it seem like 7 different movies, and I really don't know what to expect from it. And then on top of that, the last movie that I have not had the chance to see is The Photician Scheme. That's one that is playing in some theaters right now, but it has its wide release in June. So even if I had seen it, I probably wouldn't have included it on this ranking. But that being said, that's the newest Anderson movie, and I'm looking forward to it. And now let's dive into the ratings. Like I said, 5 movies I have seen. Alrighty, and coming in dead last place, our number 5 spot, we have a movie called The Last Rodeo. And I'm going to go ahead and say this right off the bat. This movie is not a bad movie. It's just 100% just not my cup of tea. This is just not a movie that I would willingly watch on my own. So you're probably thinking, Blake, this is a new movie that released this month. How did you go and see this movie? The movie theater near me is trying to do a lot of different things to kind of spruce things up and kind of like, you know, boost their ticket sales, I guess. And one thing that they've started is mystery preview screenings on Mondays. You can go and see a movie that's going to be releasing that weekend. And I was like, you know what? The weekend coming up had Lilo and Stitch premiering. It had Friendship was premiering in some theaters. It had the Mission Impossible movie was premiering. And I was like, you know what? If I go to this mystery movie, there's a solid chance I get to see one of those 3 movies, and it's going to be a great time. Let's go check it out. I get into the movie theater, and it's this movie, The Last Rodeo. Never heard of it. I have not seen a single piece of marketing for it. Still, since seeing it, I haven't seen a single piece of marketing for it. And I haven't seen a single person talk about it. On top of the like 20 different accounts that I follow that talk about movies religiously and like watching movies is their jobs, I don't know a single person who has seen this movie. It literally feels like a fever dream. But that being said, to actually dive into the movie itself, it's a story about a man who used to be one of the world's greatest bull riders. He used to win so many championships and tournaments and stuff like that. And he was like famous all around America, kind of like an American hero. And sadly, he ended up having to let go of his dreams when the love of his life died of a chronic illness. It's very bleak at that very beginning of the movie, and then it kind of cuts forward to about 15 years later. He's gone through a lot of depressive episodes. He has a lot of really bad injuries, and he's kind of teaching one of his kids, I think it's his grandkid, how to, you know, ride bulls, and he's teaching him all these cool rodeo stuff. And then his grandson ends up getting the same terminal illness that his wife had, and she needs to get these treatments. His daughter is a single mother. She can't really afford to get these kind of surgeries and all these different procedures and stuff that they need. So they decide, he decides, you know what? I'm going to do a rodeo show again. I'm going to try to ride a bull as like a 60-year-old man. And it's a pretty interesting movie. I think that there's a lot of really good slice of life moments in it. I think that for the most part, there's a decent bit of comedy that worked relatively well for me. And I think the only thing that I did not like about this movie, I'm not a very religious person. This movie feels very Christian. So if you're a Christian and you want to go watch a movie that like has a lot of, you know, messages about faith and, you know, how if you believe in God, everything will be good, you can go watch this movie. That just was not for me. Coming in 4th place, I really wanted to love this movie more, but we have Karate Kid's Legends. Look, Ben Wang is absolutely fantastic in this movie. I think that his acting performance is incredible. I think that for the most part, when Jackie Chan is in this, he's a delight and he brings so much fun energy to it. And I think that, you know, having him and bringing back Ralph Macchio and kind of fusing together all the different Karate Kid movies and creating this new like legacy movie sounds like a great idea on paper, but then when you accomplish it by having this movie start off as, oh my god, it's this new Karate Kid movie, we have this new young kid who's going to stand up and he's going to be like this big hotshot karate kid in New York. He has a very interesting traumatic past that makes it a little bit harder for him to get into karate. And, you know, him having this cool character journey that's slow but sure building up. You make New York this really cool landscape for him. He's going to be doing a lot of interesting like alleyway fights. And then you have this story that feels new, fresh, original. The entire first act is fantastic. It's fully developing this young kid to be, you know, this future star. You're really starting to like this kid. And then you bring in Ralph Macchio, you bring in Jackie Chan, and you completely take away all of his character development that he's had so far in this movie. You get rid of all of the like good timed action sequences and all of the stuff that made New York feel like an interesting character. And you just montage to the end of the movie, the final fight. And then that one, you can slow it down a little bit. But for the most part, the fight sequence is still going to go like and get over with. And on top of that, he's just going to specifically do this one move that he's been training for over and over and over and over again. So when he finally does it, yeah, it's kind of climactic, but also it's the most predictable thing ever. This movie feels incredibly overdone. It feels like something that, like, if you were like, hey, give me the most generic action movie of all time with a kid who learns karate, bam, boom, bop, they got you this. And what kills me about it is every time this movie had an opportunity to do something fresh and new and original, they decided to be like, we got Ralph Macchio. Look, it's Ralph Macchio. Isn't this fun and exciting? And on top of that, this movie has some of the worst needle drops in the history of ever. Alrighty, and then these top three are a massive jump up from really solid franchises. In third place, we have Final Destination's Bloodlines. I'm going to say it. This movie is fantastic. This movie is genuinely insanely entertaining, and obviously I think that it is a great time. I think that the death sequences are so original and creative and really cool. I think that the use of practical effects with CGI is really cool. Like, I've seen some behind the scenes and there are some sequences where I was like, oh yeah, for sure, this was CGI, but now I'm seeing how they actually did it, and I'm like, that's so much cooler. Oh my God. So I think, you know, the more I've learned about behind the scenes things for it, the more that I've, you know, spent time with this cast. It's a really enjoyable movie. And I think that for the most part, if you're going to the movies because you want to just have a fun movie, this is the film to go watch. It is absolutely hilarious. The dark humor in it is so good. And I think that for the most part, this movie takes itself just the right level of silliness to, you know, the first movie was very like serious, kind of bleak, and there were a lot of death sequences that were like incredibly emotional and impactful. And you have a couple of those moments in here, and for the most part, this movie does struggle when it comes to like introducing the characters and making you care for the characters, because at the end of the day, you know they're all going to die. But I think that if you're going into this movie not wanting to get attached to the characters, it's just such a good time. Like, they genuinely do such a good job with so many creative death sequences. I do think the last two were a little cartoony, but that being said, this movie is fun. It's just such a fun ride. Already in our runner-up, this one absolutely killed me to not put it at number one, but we have Thunderbolts, asterisk. I am a diehard Marvel fan. I would like to draw your attention to behind me. Oh, you can't see it very well. That's a Spider-Man poster. Somewhere over there, there's a Spider-Man poster. I'm a diehard superhero fan. So anytime a Marvel movie or something comes out, my biases usually put it up a little bit higher. But I will admit, for the first time in a really long time, I've been feeling a little bit of Marvel fatigue. But I went and I saw this movie, and it was incredibly touching. As somebody who has dealt with a lot of mental health issues, I think that this movie tackles it incredibly well. The character of Sentry / the Void from the comics is somebody who was, when they announced, hey, he's going to be in this movie, I'm like, how are they going to adapt this in the state that Marvel has been in the last couple of years? Do we really trust them to get this right? And they did. They absolutely nailed it. They were able to find a way to make the power of friendship being the way that they win actually work. And I think that overall it takes these characters who are relatively irredeemable and have had very interesting past and are able to kind of put them on the front lines and make them this team that has to work together. I think that the team dynamic is absolutely fantastic, and we get a lot of sequences that we haven't had in so long of just heroes being people together. Like, there's one sequence in particular where they're sitting in the back of the truck and they're just having a conversation about like their outfit pieces, because like obviously the uniform that you wear is like a decision you make. So like Yelena and Ghost are kind of like poking fun at John because they're just like, yeah, what's up with the hat? And he's like, oh, my helmet? Yeah, do you like it? He's like, I like it. I think it's cool. And I love that. Like, that's what made Marvel Phase 1, Marvel Phase 2 so special to me. Like, one of my favorite Marvel movies to rewatch is Avengers Age of Ultron, because there's sequences of them just hanging out together. And it makes it where when we're seeing scenes of them fighting alongside each other, that much more impactful because like the stakes are huge. These are people who you know are good friends, and now they're in life or death scenarios, and it makes the stakes higher, it makes the action sequences more enjoyable, it makes it where when they win at the end of the movie, it feels more earned, and I love that. I think that this movie absolutely nailed everything that a Marvel movie should be, and it is the most coherent Marvel movie we've had in a really long time. Like, the entire film actually has, like, you can feel a director behind it, which I know is like such like a nothing burger compliment to give, but like genuinely the majority of Marvel movies feel like they're made by committees. You can tell that this was made by somebody with a clear vision, a clear directive. He knew from start to finish what he wanted the message to be, and it is beautiful and rich, and I absolutely love it. And on top of that, it's still funny, and it still has the action sequences and the quips that you would expect from a Marvel movie, but it handles the adult topics incredibly, incredibly well. And coming in first place, we have Mission Impossible: The Final Reckoning, Ethan Hunt's last mission as a part of the MI6 force, supposedly. We will have to wait and see because Tom Cruise does not seem like he's ready to hand over this franchise. Like, as much as he has kind of been building this up as like, this is going to be the last movie, I would not be surprised if 2 years from now we find out he's actually secretly working on another one. But that being said, for this movie, really enjoyed it. I think that all of the acting performances are absolutely incredible. Once again, Hayley Atwell is able to match Tom Cruise's presence on screen. She's just absolutely captivating. She's so good in everything she does. I think Palm Clementif is a sleeper in this. She's absolutely fantastic. And I love her, like, ready to kill somebody at any given moment energy that she has in this. Slightly psychotic. I love it. I'm very attracted to it. Is there something wrong with me for that? Probably. That's okay. Obviously, Tom Cruise. Simon Pegg absolutely stand out in this movie. I love that he got an opportunity to be the leader of the group in this film. And overall, the last hour of this movie is just non-stop exhilarating fun. There's a lot of really good hand-to-hand action sequences. There's a lot of really cool stuff underwater. The entire submarine sequence is about 30 minutes long without a single line of dialogue, and just overall you're just having to kind of see how he is going through the motions. Everything that could be going wrong seems to be going wrong, and he keeps having to adapt. And that overall is probably my favorite thing about this movie, is they're constantly having to just trust the process. They have a very, very, very tight plan, and everything is going off the rails with that plan, but they're somehow, you know, as spies do, finding a way to make it work. And then they have a scene at the end of this movie, which if you've seen my full-length review for, I preached and preached and preached that this is the best scene in the movie. But Ethan is about to go chase down Gabriel. He's about to hop on a plane and do all the really cool plane stunts that you see in the trailers, which, by the way, those plane stunts are incredible. They are so good. Like, the trailers, I thought, okay, they're showing a lot of it. Nope, not even close. He does some insane stuff. That movie, Tom Cruise is that guy. Tom Cruise is that guy. But that stuff, absolutely phenomenal. But like I said, there's a scene with Hayley Atwell, Simon Pegg, and Tom Cruise, and they're kind of like talking before this mission is up, and they're, you know, talking about like, okay, well, we got to go do this thing, you got to take care of this stuff. And then like while they're going through the plans and they're going through the motions really quickly, you know, Simon Pegg just keeps going, we'll figure it out. And then Tom Cruise is just like, oh, but what about this thing? And he's like, but we'll figure it out. And then Hayley Atwell's like, oh, but what about this thing? And he's like, we'll figure it out. And that is just 101 what spycraft is. You adapt, you overcome, and it is so, so, so good. I love this film. I think that this film was incredible. I had a lot of gripes with the fact that there's a lot of flashbacks in the movie. There's a lot of really big exposition dumps at the beginning of the film. I think that if you go through and you watch the first 30 minutes and you have a little clicker and click every time somebody says the world is going to end, you probably would end up having hand cramps because of how badly you're having to click that thing. But that being said, they're building the stakes, they're trying their best, and they're doing a solid job. And by the time you get to the end of the movie, you don't even remember all the bad stuff that started off the film. So I really like this one. I had to give it the #1 spot. Let me know down below, guys, whatever your guys' ranking for the 5, or you guys might have potentially seen more movies in the month of May. Feel free to let me know any movies that I missed in the month of May that you think were relatively good. But that being said, I'm going to go ahead and sign out. Thank you guys so much for coming by and checking it out. I love and appreciate you guys so much for watching. And if you liked it, feel free to like and subscribe, and I'll hopefully see you guys in the next one. Peace out. Bow.